Hello, welcome to Long Shot Larry's Sports Astrology. Today we're looking at the T20 World Cup group stage game between the West Indies and Sri Lanka. West Indies need to win and win big to keep their finals hopes alive. Sri Lanka have been knocked out, but this is for pride and rankings for the next World Cup. So let's have a look at the game chart here. First thing we can see is Saturn is close to the MC, applying 1 degree 20. I would like it to be closer, but that's going to be an influence. And the other thing here is you can see the moon is applying to the sun. It's about 4 degrees away, which is about 8 hours. And so we're going to have a new moon, 12 degrees Scorpio in 40 minutes, very closely opposite Uranus. So that's a bit of a chaotic pattern there. We're also going to be looking at the part of fortune, I think, has a part to play in this game. So looking at the Frawley method here, Saturn rules the 10th house. It's in the 10th house. That's one for the favourites. Favourites in this game are the West Indies, so they are the ascendant, and the descendant is Sri Lanka. That new moon, I think, in 8 hours. I have a video about new moons. I'll put the link up the top here. That has an influence before the game, so I think that has a part to play. So let's have a look at the West Indies. Okay, the chart I use for West Indies, since the West Indies isn't a country, I'll look at the first game they played officially as a group, and that was a test match against England. Now the time here, I'm not sure, I haven't been able to find an exact time. Most test matches started at 10:30 or 11 AM, so it's a rough time. So what have we got happening for the West Indies? Okay, how does it relate to Saturn first off? Well, here's Saturn over here at 14 Sag 38. It is square the moon, quincunx Pluto. The moon here is important. It might be a little bit earlier than that, but the moon rules the sun. That's not a great alignment to Saturn here. The other thing, this new moon here at 12 Scorpio 40 with Uranus, potentially it's trine and sextile the sun. Now that's pretty good if that moon is a little bit earlier. So it's one negative, one positive for West Indies. Let's have a look at the captain. Kieran Pollard is the captain for the West Indies. How does he relate to Saturn and Uranus? So Saturn, natally for him, is up here and it's conjunct Uranus wide. Now Saturn is quincunx his Taurus sun, and Uranus is also quincunx his Taurus sun. I can't see any relationship here between the sun and Uranus. The other thing for Kieran Pollard is that the moon is very closely conjunct his Pluto, applying 4 minutes. Now Pluto for him is in Scorpio. We don't know where his moon is. It's in Scorpio somewhere. If it is close to that Pluto, moon and Pluto together tend to be intensely emotional, usually on the downside, unfortunately. So I think that's one negative. With all these quincunxes, that looks like a lot of adjustments for him to get the win for his team. Let's have a look at Sri Lanka. Okay, so here's the chart for Sri Lanka as a country. The rumours are it was timed by astrologers. So Saturn for Sri Lanka, we can see natally that Saturn is conjunct the MC. So I believe that's a positive. They relate well to Saturn. Saturn is 1.5 degrees away from trining Saturn, probably a little bit too far to include that. You can also see that the North Node here is close to the Sun, applying 30 minutes. No other triggers today. Generally that would be positive, but there's no triggers of that today. The part of fortune here I think is interesting for Sri Lanka. It is applying to Mercury at 16 Taurus, about 1 degree away, and that area there is important for Sri Lanka because Mercury rules the Gemini sun, so it's an important indicator of success, and it lines up with the captain, which we'll look at in a minute. The other thing is that Uranus here, 12 Scorpio 48, is applying to a sesquiquadrate to the moon about 1 degree away, so that full moon is going to be applying to the sesquiquadrate. Now Uranus moon in country charts tends to be excitement. The moon's in Virgo here. It is close to Pluto. If it was closer to Pluto, like we saw potentially in Kieran Pollard's chart, that's probably negative. Probably far enough away there to indicate there is a potential for excitement in Sri Lanka. Let's have a look at the captain. And here's the captain for Sri Lanka. You can see here this part of fortune is trine his sun. So that degree area is important for Sri Lanka. So I like that area for them with the part of fortune. What about Uranus and Saturn? Saturn I can't see doing much in this chart. He does have his Mars trying to MC at the start. That's a very, very minor indication. Pluto is lurking around the descendant. His Pluto natally is sextile his Sun and sextile the node. That's okay. The other thing that we note with the captain here is that Venus is very closely trining his Jupiter, and Mercury is also applying to a sextile to his Mercury. Now Mercury rules his Virgo Sun. Mercury and Jupiter are conjunct, so that's a positive combination for the Sri Lankan captain here. So minor testimonies there with Venus and Mercury, but they do reinforce the case here for Sri Lanka. So in summary, what have we got? So we've got this new moon approaching in about 8 hours. I think it has an influence over this game, and that new moon is going to be opposite Uranus, so that's quite a crazy combination. You do have Saturn very close to the MC, so I think they're the two major influences on this game. For all the method, you've got one for the favourite and one for the underdog. So the West Indies, potentially that new moon trine Uranus in alignment with the moon for the first game chart is definitely, that if they win, that's what you would put it down to. However, that Saturn square moon is an issue, the way they relate to Saturn. Kieran Pollard, I don't see anything jumping out and saying that he's going to win today. For Sri Lanka, I tend to think they look better overall. Country chart, we've got the part of fortune in a good position. They relate well to Saturn. Throw in the node is applying to the Sun, so that's pretty good. And the captain, part of fortune, once again lines up well for him. It is a concern that his Sun natally is sesquiquadrate Saturn quite close, so overall Saturn not great for him. But he does have those couple of minor testimonies there. Mercury in a position, Mercury sextile his Mercury, which rules his Sun, and Venus trines his Jupiter, so it's activating his Mercury conjunct Jupiter natally, which is nice. So at the end of the day, I think Sri Lanka look slightly better than the West Indies, and they'll get the upset win. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and we'll see you in the next one.